King David goes on to count the number of people or the number of soldiers that he has from the whole of Israel and Judah. Now this was trusting more in the number than in God or in the Lord, which means not trusting the Lord for his strength in the fight against the enemies. And due to this failure of David is presented three options: whether he could accept famine for 3 years in his land. The second one, whether he could flee for 3 months while his enemies pursue. And the third one, would he rather prefer 3 days of pestilence in his country? I thought he would choose the second one, because that means that he had to give up only for 3 months, run away from the kingdom, and allow the enemies to be victorious. Maybe for David, this was quite embarrassing, to hand over and run away from his enemies. So one option is for 3 years of famine, second option is fleeing for 3 months, and third option is 3 days of pestilence. This seems quite little, but see the effect. David chooses this third one, and due to which 70,000 people die with this option. Now David could have easily taken up the second one to get into a little bit of embarrassment and still protect and preserve the land and the people, but he thought not to fall in the hands of human person, rather to keep his title, keep his name, keep his position intact. Now this can happen to us many times. In order to protect ourselves, in order to avoid the embarrassment, in order not to allow the enemies or allow the people against us to take on our name and position, we will go to any extent. Only if David thought of this in advance, all these people could have been saved. And he realizes this later and repents for that. In the gospel, people say regarding Jesus, where did this man get all this? How he became who he is that we see him now? Where did he get all this wisdom from? And how come he is able to do this great deeds of power? Is not this the carpenter's son or the carpenter? Now for people, it was difficult to understand and accept Jesus because he was from among them, from his own town. And this can once again be part of our lives too. Someone who is of our family, someone who is of our very place. Someone could be from our community, but are we able to recognize the gifts that God has given to this person? Are we able to recognize the greatness, the skills that this person has? Maybe our own loved ones in our family. At times it could be such we want to keep them at our level, not acknowledging the greatness that is being gifted to them by God. And this can make us defend ourselves. This can make us in all different ways protect ourselves or protect the conclusion that we give. And we don't want to accept our enemies. We don't want to allow that other person to rise above our level. Let us ask the Lord, when human mind or our human ways make us to embrace this type of situation, that we will do what God asks of us and not our name and position.